Welcome to the Nobody Knowz podcast with Callie Zamzo. Join us for conversations with local changemakers and hear the stories that don't always get told. It'll be honest, messy and beautiful, touching and humorous. Slow down, pour a glass, and pull up a chair. This is the Nobody Knowz podcast.
Welcome to Nobody Knowz. I'm your host, Callie Zamzo. And I've been reflecting on Boise lately, just because there's been so much, really a lot of change in the area. And one of the things I was thinking about is like on the good sense, like the wonderful changes that are happening. I was thinking about as a kid whenever the family wanted to go out for dinner, and that didn't happen very often because back in the day there wasn't a lot of that. But if there was, we had a handful of places that we went, and it was, so we want this place, or this place, pretty much. And I had been speaking with friends about that, and we all share the same, we all knew the same places, and those are the places that we went. And I was thinking about one of the wonderful things that has happened with some of the changes in Boise over the past 10 years or so is that we have this onslaught of wonderful places to eat. And so today we get to speak with somebody who is a part of that scene. And I'm very excited about it because I think food is it's a grand unifier. And I think if you can get creative with food, it makes the unifying creative as well. So I'm very, very excited about our guest today. We have Chef Kelly Grindstaff with us. He is the head chef at the Modern Hotel and Bar, and he's helping cultivate Boise's food scene. And he brings together local farms and creative flavors, and he really creates community around people who love food. So welcome to the studio, Kelly. I'm glad to have you.
Yeah, excited to be here.
This is really great. And I got to talk a little bit beforehand, and I already can sense your creative energy. So this is going to be fun to have you in the studio. It's very cool. Before we get going too far, would you just kind of introduce yourself to our listener and share a little bit about your history?
Yeah, I'm not born in Idaho, but raised kindergarten through high school. And then after high school, the, culinary school of hard knocks. Didn't go to culinary school, just worked through restaurants, worked for Jared Couch back in the day.
Oh, cool.
Started when I was 15 as a dishwasher, worked at the Original Dish, then out in Eagle at 616 from the day it opened to the day it closed. Practically every day. and then I helped out a little bit at the Newer Dish on 10th for a little bit, but Jared Couch was like my first introduction to cooking, and I never wanted to be a chef, but when I was 15 and I was washing dishes at the Original Dish, it's this open kitchen. Jared is like pointing, talking to guests, his tattoos on his arm, and I'm like, I could do this. And here I am still doing it, and I don't have any tattoos.
I was just looking. I was like, oh, he has no tattoos.
Yeah, no, didn't go that route. But, that's where like kind of the passion came from. And it was like, this is just more than just putting food on a plate. And, it's a community and art. And, so I really kind of grabbed onto that, being a kid from Nampa. It was like, I can do this. This will get me out of bed every morning.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but boy, howdy, are you doing it?
Yeah.
Like, what's interesting is your story. I mean, some could make assumptions about how you got where you are right now, but I think one ought not make assumptions. You're very unique.
Yeah, my dad was a chef growing up. He was an executive chef for Shiloh Inn, which is
cool.
I was born in Yuma, Arizona. But I was only there for, I think, like 9 months. And then we packed up and moved on to the next Shiloh Inn, because he would go into the new ones that were built and train the whole restaurant, food and beverage. And then I think we went from Yuma to the one in Twin. I think we lived in Blackfoot. There's like a very embarrassing photo that was on our fridge forever of me as like a toddler, no clothes on, with a trucker hat on a wooden rocking horse.
That's awesome.
And then the Shiloh Inn in Nampa, right off the Franklin exit.
Yeah.
Then that's how we ended up in Nampa, and the story goes on from there. And he was a chef in Oregon, on the Oregon coast, in Depot Bay, Oregon, at a place called the Sea Hag, which is one of my all-time favorite restaurant names ever, for Gracie Strom. And that's kind of how that was his like claim to fame, his clam chowder and everything. And, it really, I never wanted to do it. I was like, I don't want to do what my dad does. And then, like I said, seeing Jared just kind of commanding the orchestra was like, oh, this is different, And so I, really clung to it, and, went from working for Jared to 2009, I got a job at Redfish Lake Lodge in Stanley, and I was the chef there from 2009 to 2021, pretty much until I came back to Boise and started at the Modern. But the Redfish experience was really unique. Jeff and Audra Clegg, who run it, they're just so nurturing. And, if I would have gone and worked for anybody else when I was 21, I probably wouldn't be cooking anymore, because, they were so patient with me, and, I really shouldn't have been doing it. Like they gave me way too much responsibility, but, through failure, those are the biggest lessons, that I feel like you can learn. That job was unique because, like I said, I didn't go to culinary school, but I was only there from May to October. And so from October to May, I could go do anything. And so at first, I spent like my first winter in Boise. I actually helped open the Griddle in Eagle. And then I worked at Café de Paris for Matthew with Gaston's, my first winter. And then my second winter, I went to the Virgin Islands, worked in St. Thomas, and then came back a little early, and then actually helped open Fork with the opening chef there, Paul. And then I spent another winter here, and then from that point on, that's right around the time I started kind of traveling a little bit. Went to Ireland for one winter, and then the following was when my wife and I started dating, and then we had a friend in Los Angeles, so we ended up doing it LA for about 6 winters, and got to work for a really cool chef, Philip Pretty, Long Beach native. Him and his sister opened a restaurant in Long Beach called Heritage. They currently have held a 1 Michelin star plus a green star for the last 3 years, and that's when I say like Jared Couch gave me the foundation, Philip really kind of opened that box of creativity, and being like, this isn't the only way to do it, and kind of that I kind of look at my food like, it's like I kind of learned a lot, that California cuisine, that freshness and everything, but it's like kind of fun to bring it to Idaho, and using the Idaho ingredients that we have at our disposal to kind of have fun with the plate and the the canvas.
Yeah.
And so
I had to tell you, when I thought you were going to start speaking about your history, I thought there was going to be like this really linear. I don't know why I thought that, but what an extraordinary group of experiences you have had. Yeah. And so each one taught you something else. So are you, just to give me a taste of your personality, I think I'm beginning to grasp it here, but are you the type of person you fully immerse in something when you're there?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's it was, that opportunity of those winters of, just being able to go in and, when, especially, when Redfish was paying me year round, it created this opportunity where I can walk into a restaurant and be like, just pay me, base. I just want to learn. And, and I would try to not be like, oh yeah, I also run a kitchen in Idaho half the year. It would be like more like, I just want to put my head down, be a nobody, and just like, let me learn. And like, even if it was, my dad told me once, I was, when I was early in my career, I was working at a place, I won't name, I was kind of like struggling. And I was like, I don't think I want to do it anymore, and he just goes, son, the biggest thing you need to understand is, even when you feel like you're not learning, you're learning what not to do. And, that's more valuable than, sometimes when you're learning what you should do, because you kind of get the experience of like, I'm not going to treat my employees that way, or I'm not going to do this, that way, or, to have that kind of culture and, stuff like that. So it was nice. It was really cool. But
oh man. Yeah, I'm realizing now. So you're leading. You're now a leader of the modern. So how did, like, all these times that you were working at other places, how did that shape how you are as a leader today? And do you think of yourself as a leader?
Yeah, it's funny. My wife and I, when we'd go work in we'd go on our off season and go work somewhere, we'd always laugh because by the, midway through our winter, it'd be like they'd want to keep us. They'd be like, what's going to take for you to stay?
Yeah.
and move up into a position. And it was always like, it's kind of like why we were kind of getting out of the seasonal stuff, because it was like, we want to just settle, somewhere close to home, family and everything. And, every situation was different, and you learn from like so many ways how to talk to different people. Everyone is different. That's something I always say, like, you can keep that same standard that you hold everyone to, but how you hold everyone to it, it's very hands-on and different. And you can't, some people you can be a little more like, hey, you're not doing that right, a little more stern, whereas others you got to be like, it's like, hey, let me show you how to do it, and really in like our, kitchen culture there, we're not a yelling, cussing kitchen. It's, I'll, you'll know when I'm mad when I go quiet, but I'm not really mad.
Feel that. It's
just more of like, all right, we should have done that differently. And, it's fine. We made a mistake. And, I really try to create that, of all the experience I've had, the kitchens that I worked in where I didn't have a good time was the ones where you were afraid to say you messed up. And that's like something where I'm like, don't be afraid. Like, hey, we're going to fix it. It's fine. Like we're just going to do it again, and same with like when we're, making a dish on the line and everything. I try to, really teach like a neutral mindset of, you don't want to be up here. You don't want to be down here. You just want to be here. And so you can shift into that, it's like, individual tickets, hey, that ticket we messed up on, but let's not let it affect the next one. And so, let's just keep going. We got to, live the history, let it go, understand why, what, when, and let's move on to the next thing. And so, I think my kitchen crew right now, I kind of have a newer kitchen crew. I had to rehire recently, and one of the things doing the seasonal work, it's all young kids, it's like 18-year-olds, and for like 6 summers at Redfish I had this about 85 to 90% return rate, which was like unheard of for seasonal working, and a lot of them still work there. In fact, the new chef at Redfish, Alex Martinez, is he started as a dishwasher for me years ago.
Wow.
And so it's a lot of them are still going there and everything. And when I came to Boise, I kind of realized it was a little different. It was like, there was a lot of cooks that were like, I got this experience, like, here's my resume. And so I started hiring on experience, and, sometimes it really kind of bit me in the rear. And, we just kind of did a little bit of turnover of people just kind of moving on. And the funny thing is, my wife wanted me to mention this. When we first opened, nobody was really applying because, it was right after COVID. A lot of industry people went on to something else. And so nobody was applying. And we have 13 nieces and nephews on both sides. And a few of mine are ready to work, and a couple of them already work in kitchens. They've worked at Bitter Creek forever, and so I just kind of was like cycling through my nephews for a little bit. I always joked that I was going to open a restaurant called Nephew, and just hire them. But yeah, they've recently moved on and gone to other things, better things, and so this recent round of hiring, I really kind of talked to some other chefs that I look up to and asked what they do, and I really started to something stuck with me of one of them said, hire for personality, not experience, and if they have the experience, great, but that personality, like, and so it's like when like this last batch, I don't interview with like, where do you want to go? Like, where do you want to be? Do you know how to cook an egg? Those types of things. It's like, I'm more like, let's just have a conversation, and let's, shake hands, have a conversation. If it's jiving, we're not going to talk anything personal. It's just, why are you in Boise? Like, all those things, and get a good feeling. It's like, all right, you want to come and do a stage tomorrow? So I really feel like I lucked out in this, last 3 cooks I just hired. They're really doing a really good job.
So how do you create the culture in the kitchen? Like, how do you do that? Like, obviously it starts with hiring. You just said that you choose people that are going to vibe, and then how do you kind of maintain that? And
I think you got to let them like be themselves and grow, into the space. And like I said, 2 of the people we just hired are super green, but it's been like, amazing. Like I got to shout out one of our cooks, Michaela. She's just she surprises me every day. It's like she does things, and you look and you I learned. I'm sitting there and I'm showing her how to make this cake, and it's like, you do this cake on a half sheet pan, and you want to find like a flat full sheet pan so you can put the half sheet pan inside the full sheet pan, because sometimes it'll overflow, so we don't want to make a mess. And I'm watching her, and I'm sitting there, going like, what is she doing? And she finds the sheet pan, and she can't find a full sheet pan that's flat. And so I'm kind of like watching, seeing what she's doing, and she takes parchment paper and like wedges it up, and like wedges it and makes the half pan flat. And I turned to my other cooks and I said, you guys would have never done that. And they all laughed, and they were like, wouldn't have thought about it.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about food, because there are places in Boise that you go to where you're like, okay, they make a solid burger. I know I can trust it. It's whatever and I can doll it up the way I want to doll it up and make it the way I want it to taste and all that fun stuff. That does not seem to be the way that you take things on. You and your team, you're interested in making food different and exciting, and something that I think people, when they're looking for, hey, I want to taste something different. Something, by the way, that we never used to have in Boise.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden we do, where we can actually say, I just want to taste something different, and they can do that when they come and eat your food. So tell us about that process. How do you come up with your?
It's all from experience, and like working with not just the chefs that I've worked for and things like that. You see like one technique, and you go, wow, I could really apply that to this other thing, and I could make it completely different than what their idea of what they were trying to do with it. And you kind of just start to play, and honestly, it's the team. It's so nice to have a group of cooks that they all kind of want to have an opinion of it, and it's really like challenging. It's like, well, why are we doing that? And then I'm just like, this is why. And now it makes me think, like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
and so it is. It's a really, like, one, it's a huge team building thing, and the kitchen, we try to really get everyone. I try to tell them all the time, like, especially if I have a quiet cook, I'm like, hey, you should take this and this home, and just kind of flip through them, and like cookbooks, and if you see anything you really like, just bring it back, and let's talk about it, and then maybe we can build on it and do a version of something that is maybe out of a book, so we can get you out of your shell. Because I'm always like, it's about learning the techniques, and then once you've learned the techniques, then you can start to be like, well, man, we can take this and make it this way using this other technique that's for a completely different application. And, and then they start to kind of really open their minds to it. And, and I like to think that, we're creative, but, one thing, with the modern, it's, big shoes to fill with, Nate and Remy and my wife and I actually just ate at Toir the other night for the first time because we never have nights off, and we just happened to be able to get out early on a Saturday night. And she's like, "We should go to dinner," and I was like, "We should go to Toir." And so actually Nate came and sat down with us and chatted for a little bit, and Remy brought us some champagne, which I like to think is special, but maybe he does it for everyone. No, it was a really, really good meal, and it's just really nice to see, again, like, you know, Boise just being able to go into some place and be like, wow, that was such a fun meal and different than what I would do, and you know, but it's like, you know, amazing. Like, it was top to bottom, just such a good meal.
I love that. There's some, it's one of the few things that literally changes you at the cellular level because it's food. But then you also get the experience along with it, and the flavors, and a good night out at a really good restaurant where you eat something that delights your senses is, I mean, there's nothing like it. It's great.
I think you know, when I think of like Nate's food and you know, what coming into the modern and, you know, taking that program over, what the term I hate the most is fine dining. It's such a like death sentence. It's like, oh, I only go there on special occasions. And it's like, you know, really, it's like, can it just be good food?
Right.
You know, like it's like, you know, I've eaten, you know, 3 Michelin star restaurants to 1-star restaurants to restaurants with no stars in the middle of Cambodia. You know, and you know, and it's the you know, like, you know, nobody in town's got that stuffiness of like, you know, you got to have a jacket on and we're going to walk you to the restroom or anything. And it's like, you know, that's what I think people really think. I kind of think Boise fine dining is the steakhouses, because, you know, that's kind of where you get a little bit of that fill. But it's like, you know, when you think of the modern or places like Toir or you know, White Rabbit, you know, Sarah and DK, you know, those are just, you know, it's just, it could just be good food.
Yeah.
And you can, it is what you want it to be. It could be your version of fine dining and that elevated, you know, experience, or it could just be a Tuesday night and I'm hungry.
Yeah. So very Boise. The way that you're describing that, I'm like, yeah, that's I think the vast majority of Boiseans. And sure, there's a time when your grandma turns 90 and you want to go to the steakhouse and you want everybody to dress up, and I get all that. That there has its place too. Yeah. But I think for every day, you know, sometimes you want to go out with your husband and have something delicious, and so I like that. It is very Boise.
Yeah.
So tell us when you came on at the modern, because I mean there was a lot of changes happening. So tell me, you were you like, was it carte blanche? Were you like given the opportunity to create the vision?
Oh yeah, you know, Elizabeth, the owner, she's very hands off, and I think I kind of surprised her because she's has history at Redfish. You know, her ex-husband Dan C's family owned Redfish before the Crouches, who I worked for, purchased it in '99. And so she actually worked at Redfish and ran the dining room at Redfish for years. She has so many stories. It's really fun to kind of talk with her and share a glass of wine. But she just kind of wanted me to come in and do my thing. And I think at Redfish, we were really kind of we went from like steak and potatoes at Redfish over the years to like my 5th summer finally being able to like, can we take the tenderloin off? Could we do like a hanger steak? and finally being able to do those things. And, and I think that was a lot to do with the consistency of the crew coming back and everything. But, she like, let me do my thing. And, there's like 2 staples on the menu that I really haven't changed from day one. And one, we were going to do a charcuterie board, like a cheese board and whatnot, and none of the stuff came in time.
Oh,
and so it was like, we got to open. And so I was like, I have all this bread. Let's just do toast and butter with like pickles, and we make our house pickles, little pickled red onion, and some Castle Vetrano olives, marinated, and then just whipped butter. And it's the only thing that she said that was such a good idea. you should keep that on. And like, she didn't even say keep it on. She just was like so excited about it. And I was like, well, that's staying on. And it has, great. And people love it. You know, it's really kind of perfect. And it's, you know, it's an easy prep item. And then our cauliflower, which is a kind of a combination of experiences I got with, you know, some Italian restaurants I've worked at, and then also the cauliflower itself from one of my old employees at Redfish showed me this technique of like soaking it in coconut milk, and then you take it out the next day and strain it, and then you just toss it in cornstarch. Ooh. And you can like hold it, you know, in a 6-pan on top of each other, and then you just fry it, and it stays so crispy. The cauliflower dish on our menu, we do, you know, roasted baba ganoush on the bottom, and then we do the fried cauliflower with pepperoncinis, parsley, olive oil, lemon, salt, and then we top it with dukkha, which is like a Mediterranean like nut spice mix. So it's like southern Italy with like Morocco kind of like vibes.
So cool.
But it's like another dish where I took it off once a couple winters ago, and I went about a month and a half before somebody finally was like, what happened? Like I bring people in for this one. So, cause it, you know, it hits all the marks. It's gluten-free, vegan, you know, everything. So, but
yeah, you're, the way that you talk about food is almost magical. It's fun to listen to you talk about, you know, deconstructing what, you know, just that dish that you just talked about is amazing. One of the things I think that is somewhat unique about what you do is that you work with local farms and producers, and you do that year round. How do you manage that? And is that like a principle, or is that just because it just tastes better? Like,
it's both. You know, it's obviously way better. You know, I didn't argue with the guy at the co-op, but he was saying the apples I was buying at the co-op, which were like the Cosmic Reds or something, they looked really nice. But I did an event the other day, and nobody has apples right now, so I just was like, I'll go to the next best place, co-op. And he's like, oh, these are the best apples ever. And I was like, have you tried Waterwill's Pink Lady apples during the season? Because that's the best apple. And so it is. It's, you know, you try that. One of our bartenders, Tony, keeps bringing in his garden tomatoes, and he just brings like a quart of them in, and then just sets them on the bar while he's setting up. And then we just eat them all, and he turns over and they're gone. And it's like, well, they're literally like candy, you know? And it's just like, but you know, people will try it and go, I don't like tomatoes. And then they try like one of his just at home, you know, little garden tomatoes. And it's like, yeah, that's what it should taste like.
Yes. Totally different. I always say that to people who say they don't like tomatoes. I'm like, have you picked one off and put it in your mouth? Because it's very, very different. Yeah. The other thing that's very interesting, I think, about you in particular is that you, I'm gonna hack the way I'm saying this, but you don't stay in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You are very community involved.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Like, you're involved with Tree Fort. You're you weave yourself into things.
Yeah. Sometimes too much.
I don't think so. I think it's just right.
No, it was, this last Tree Fort was a doozy. Cause I kind of got involved with Tree Fort because during the construction on Grove, we decided, not this last Tree Fort, but the Tree Fort before, we weren't going to do Camp Modern because it was like, where are people going to park? Were they going to walk across the construction,
right,
you know, and everything like that? And so we just decided to not do it. So that kind of gave me an opportunity to be like, well, I'll try it and get involved. Let's get the Modern name, you know, as much as we can all over. So, you know, I did the brunches for Drag Fort, and then I did Street Eats last year with Dave Yasuda, and then obviously again this year, and this year though we did Camp Modern again, and I said, you know what, I'm still gonna do Street Eats and the brunches for Beer Fort or L Fort, and I think I accumulated like 10 passes by all the stuff I was doing. And it was kind of like Pokemon. Like I was like, I don't know why I'm trying to catch all of these. I was like, I almost had too much. Like I had too many that like I couldn't give them away. And I was like, I'm not going to like try and charge people for them. Like just here, like, like give it to a friend. But it almost was too much with that. And then we also did a brunch at Hap, this year. And it is a lot of fun. I think my next growth spurt is going to be saying no.
We all have to do it at some point. It's like, and that's a no. And that's what's interesting for me when that happens is usually I'll start saying no, and then I'll have to go backwards to the things I'm currently doing that I also need to say, I got to stop doing these things too. Will you just for our listeners who are not aware of Camp Modern, will you describe that just so people?
Oh, it's so fun. We take the Modern, we empty out the parking lot. We put a stage at the end, and it's kind of somewhat Basque themed because the Toluses are very, very, very much Basque. The Modern itself was a old Basque boarding house in Nampa. So I believe, sorry Elizabeth if I say this wrong, it's a third generation, hotel.
Yeah.
And with her and her brother Robert. And, it's, they're very, they used to own Chikateo, on 14th. And so we do, Basque sandwiches. And then I'll usually do like a Basque inspired soup. And we used to do the burning lamb. But that was kind of that was before me and back when, Dan and Sadegi wasn't doing his own thing. And they helped out a lot. And then by the time I got there, it was kind of funny. I think somebody sabotaged the spit barbecue grill because we found some pieces to it, and then it was like the pieces that were missing were just like it was so old we would have to get a new one. And at the time it was like, we don't really have the money for that. So the way we do it now, we don't do the burning lamb anymore, stuff like that, which kind of be fun to get back to at some point. But it's like we kind of turned the Modern into like a campground, with like the white, red and white checkered tablecloths, and we put lanterns out, and the staff, we all have they have scout or like camp host uniforms, and like we have like signs out to the indoor bar. We don't have people come in and order; they just order at a stand, and we have signs out that say like don't feed the bear tenders. and so everyone, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's tons of fun. It's kind of a little party, and that's the beauty of the Modern, and why I try to get out of the kitchen and do other things, because it's so valuable to get your staff out of a routine, every now and then, and like currently we're doing a garden series dinner with Molly Mahoney, and she's the garlic goddess, Molly Mills, or garlic goddess spices, and then Matt from Waterwill. And so the first one we did was in June at the Modern, and then the second one was beginning of August. Actually, the first one was in July. Second one was beginning of August at Molly's house in Garden City, and then our final one is on the 30th out at Waterwill Gardens in Emmett. And we haven't even posted the menu yet, and we already sold over 60 tickets. So
wow.
We were kind of joking about it. We were like, we could just do a hamburger. We're not, But yeah, no. But it is. It's like you can kind of sit there and go, you kind of reward, some staff that are really kicking butt and say, hey, why don't you come work this event, with us, get you out of the kitchen and kind of seeing a different experience. And, it's so fun to do those, 6-course dinners where you're kind of having fun and joking around, and, it's all in the preparation. That's my whole goal of, let's have everything done. So we just drive there, unload, organize, and then we just do it. And so it's a lot of fun. It's really good for the some of the younger staff to see it happen, and then every single one, I think I learned something new from it too. So
gosh, so great. Well, speaking of great things, we want to take a moment to notice our sponsors and thank them. So this episode is brought to you by Zamzows, your local source for garden, pet, and planet-friendly products. At Zamzows, we believe that great things grow from local roots. whether that's a backyard harvest or a thriving food scene. Visit zamzos.com or stop by one of our 12 Treasure Valley locations.
Nobody knows like Zamzos.
This is kind of like our rapid fire portion.
Perfect.
It's kind of sharing is caring. So we would like to hear about things that you're loving lately. That's basically what we're going to get to here. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So what is a seasonal ingredient that you're excited about using right now?
Oh, tomatoes and watermelon.
Oh, watermelon.
I just got watermelon in. We're going to do a new watermelon salad. And then definitely, I mean, tomatoes. It's like my favorite time of the year. I wish I could just get them all and like can them and have the space, because that's one of the issues with the modern is we have no space.
Yeah.
But it was like if I could just like capture that so we can use it in the winter, that'd be so nice.
So good.
But yeah, no, that definitely that. You know, we've been going through a lot of lamb from Purple Sage, which has been a lot of fun. Our lamb dish right now is a lot of fun with some peas from Dan at Dry Creek.
Oh.
And
My mouth is watering. It literally is watering right now as you're saying that. So just really quickly about watermelon. That's another one that people are like, I don't like watermelon. But if you taste a fresh local, it's a totally different beast. It's so good. Oh, man. And you really can only get it like right now. Okay. How about a local producer or a farm that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, I got a few. Bruce Ranch beef. We just used on our last dinner, and they were amazing. And the brisket we used was amazing. The dish was really, really, really good. Came out awesome. And I think I want to say they should have a website. I'm not sure. But I know they have an Instagram that you can get all their information from, but it's Bruce Ranch Beef CSAs. And I think they mainly just do CSAs. They're just kind of get into selling to restaurants. And so it was really nice to create a relationship with them recently. And then obviously Matt and his family out at Waterwheel Gardens, and you know, Molly's garlic. I got to shout that out. She'd kill me. The garlic goddess.
Love it.
At your local market. And then, you know, Dan at Dry Creek is amazing as well. And, you know, we do a lot with them. And, you know, I'm trying to think of who else. Obviously, Marcus at Real Foods. You know, I get all my seafood from him. I don't go through any bigger company. It's so easy to, you know, have a relationship with him. And then I get a lot of produce from this little fruit stand farm down in Twin. It's technically Buell is the address, but it's like kind of on your way to Buell from Twin. It's Countryside Market, and it's Doug and his family, and just him, his wife, and his daughters. And I've literally gone out there, and he's got like his tractor rigged up with like 2 bucket seats down below, and his daughters sit in it, and they just plant seeds as they go. And it's you know, his little plot of land. I mean, it's not that very, very big, but he does melons. He does tomatoes, melons, so many things that are just really, really, really cool. And we kind of got that relationship when I was working up at Redfish. You know, that's when we, you know, that's, you know, this whole like local and, you know, restaurants that are like not really doing it. I just don't get it, because my old sous chef, TJ, who's still working at Redfish, he's the one that was like, you know, he, you know, came from Portland. It's like, oh, let's go to the markets and let's meet everybody. And then we, you know, we just figured out this whole system of like, we can piggyback, Little Cow Mountain Farm chicken.
Yes.
Deb and Kyle, for sure. Got to shout them out. They're amazing. You know, it's like we, you know, met Deb and Kyle from Redfish, and they're like, you know, we're kind of small. We're not producing a lot of chickens. I think by the end of the summer, I think we bought like 900 to 1,000 chickens.
Oh, man.
Probably more, now that I'm thinking about it. And I think they did not even see us coming. But it was like, we were so happy to like boost their business and, and then
they're the nicest people.
oh, they're so nice. They're so cool.
Yeah. I know them from a different, obviously I'm not a food person, but I know them from a different way. And like some of the coolest people, and they have a really cool story too.
Yeah. They're her water paintings are gorgeous.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's so great. Great answer. You're a relationship guy.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to know you. This is awesome. Okay, one more question for you. A cookbook or a chef or a restaurant that has influenced your style?
Oh, cookbook. Jeremy Fox. He's the chef of Rustic Canyon in Santa Monica. His one cookbook that was really just transformative for me was On Vegetables. And he just released On Meats, which I haven't gotten yet, but I'm gonna get it. No, his cooking style is just really, really cool. It's really thoughtful. Zero waste. He has like an idea for everything, and then also let's see. I think like when I was young, the Momofuku cookbook. It was like the first cookbook that had like a story.
Yeah.
And like how David Chang opened the restaurant, and it was like so interesting and and stuff like that. And then becoming older and then getting to know Edward Higgins, Chef Higgins from The Lively, and then learning that, in the foreword of Momofuku when he's talking about all the chefs he worked with at Kraft, Ed Higgins is Chef Higgins from that, helped open The Lively and getting to know that whole story, and it's like full circle and really cool. And then obviously Chef Phil and Jared Couch and those guys in my life, and really kind of created my demeanor, whether it was good or bad.
This is off script, but you have a book in you. Do you know this? You have a book. I would totally read it. I hope that's maybe another chapter.
My wife is a writer, so
all right.
She's actually finishing her first book right now. So
that's awesome.
And she honestly, she'd laugh. I'll be like, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to like really think of this. She'll just like throw an idea out there, and I'll just in my head like immediately be like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. And then like a week later, it's like, hey, we should do this. And then I go, it's my wife's idea.
Yeah.
Like she's like I don't know how to do it. I'm just like throwing ideas.
Oh, that's a great yin yang right there. That's pretty awesome.
She's the best.
All right, well, we've come to the part of the show. This is a question that we ask every guest as we come to a close here. So what we'd like to know is, what is one thing that nobody knows either about you or about work or something in your life? What is something that nobody knows?
I told everything already. I was going to use that I was born in Yuma. My dad was a chef. But, I'm kind of an open book.
You are. I've loved this conversation because of that.
I really, at the end of the day, I want people to know, what they're getting into, especially, if they're one of my employees. I try not to, honesty, it's I've been using these 3 words lately is grace, patience, and humility. And that's having grace for everyone around you and yourself, having patience for everyone around you and yourself, and humility to know, we all don't know everything. We all have something to learn, whether you're, the leader or you're the dishwasher. And, a lot of times the leader learns from the dishwasher. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And honesty comes from all that. And, and that's where, backing up, it's like, don't be afraid to say when you messed up, because then we can fix it and then we can learn from it and then we can move on and we don't have to go back to it.
We get a lot of questions about fixing. And speaking of which, right now, people are asking us how they fix their crabgrass in their lawn. So here's your tip of the week. To deal with your crabgrass this fall, you don't have to do anything at all. The nice thing about crabgrass is that it's an annual and it's going to die here in the next few weeks. So if you just have a little patience, let it be. How Zamzows can help you is if you join our text reminders. In the spring, we will text you when those seeds are getting ready to germinate. And we will tell you exactly what you need to apply and when to apply it so that you can avoid the crabgrass next year. So to join the text reminders, you're going to send the words join all, and there's a space between that, two words, join all, to 208-586-3459. And Zamzows will send you a reminder, and you won't have this problem next year.
Nobody knows like Zamzows.
I didn't know going into this interview what I was, because I haven't met you before today.
Yeah.
And you are extraordinary. And I think what makes you most extraordinary of all the things you've been doing is that you're just a normal guy. Yep. Which is really cool. You're not haughty. You have lots of reasons to be. You've done some amazing things here. You're doing cool things. You're on the cutting edge. I think cool people hang around you. So I think you have every reason to be the guy who's cool guy who doesn't have time to come on Callie's podcast. But you're really you're just a normal guy.
It's funny. I really get it's like when Chef Higgins is like, I only come and eat at your restaurant, type thing. And, and then he sits at the bar and he wants to chat and like things like that. And it's like, this guy's got so much going on. Like, I can't believe he's here. Or I run into Chris Kamori and, we just start talking and pretty soon we're an hour in. And it's like, it's like those are the types of things where I'm like, when a guest at the dining room says, this is amazing. Oh, are you the chef? I always like to say, oh, I mainly wash dishes. But, it's like, any good feedback, I always say I've got a really good team and immediately go straight to the kitchen to tell them, hey, you guys are crushing it. Because, as much as I, am there and I spend a lot of time there, I really am just opening the door for them and hoping that, their opportunity gets to the point where they can go and hopefully, I'm teaching them that, you don't have to be the, oh, I did that, type mentality, like, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because I couldn't do it without them.
Right.
Like I would close the doors.
And you really have you've carried your roots forward with everything. You're not a guy who has said, oh well, that's the past, that was an old me, you've carried, it's all like you've just built upon yourself all these years and just remain super authentic.
Yeah, my whole family's kind of in it. My sister Jennifer, who's the best one of us. Sorry, Marvin, John, David, and Sarah. But you guys all say it too. She's just the sweetest human in the world. But she cooks up at Redfish. She does catering and she runs the employee food program up there and worked with me when I was up there. And then my sister Sarah owns a couple bars in Seattle. She got like, I'm going to say this. She's probably top 5 bartender in Seattle. I mean, she's so talented. She actually came and helped us redo the bar at the Modern and train and everything. And you think I'm an open book. You should get her on the podcast.
You know what I want? Yeah. I want to come to Christmas dinner with your family. Yeah. That's what I want.
and then my brother Marvin owns a Detroit style pizzeria in Reno called Our Town.
Oh, man.
And and he's crushing it and doing really, really good. And so
cool.
It's
cool.
It's all in the family.
It is. You and your family are to making food as the Zamzo family is to growing it. So.
Yeah, we probably couldn't all work together in the same room.
Yeah.
There'd probably be a lot of lines drawn. Like a lot of tape.
That's exactly what happens.
Tape lines, like you don't cross that.
Exactly.
This is my
like
square.
In the car seat when you're like on a vacation, like you can't cross this or you'll light on fire was what we used to tell. My brother and I used to tell each other. If you cross over, your handle light on fire. Of course, it never happened. But, well, Kelly, thank you for being here. This has been a lovely conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, just wonderful. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to follow the podcast and please, please, please leave a review. I would love it if you would. And next time you're planning a night out or a weekend staycation, go visit the Modern Hotel and Bar.
Yeah.
Next week, we've got another Boise story on the menu, one you won't want to miss. And until then, thanks for listening.